Hello, everyone, and welcome to Something to Talk About, which is a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday activity here at the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. I'm Reed Price, I'm the director of the center, and I am happy to be welcoming you to today's program. I'm looking forward to it quite a bit. Something to Talk About is sponsored by Fieldstone Memory Care Bainbridge Island. Fieldstone offers innovative and compassionate care, and they're now accepting residents. So call 360-271-2530 to schedule a tour of Fieldstone's beautifully appointed apartments on Rolling Bay today. With us today, Maureen Maurer, who is part of Assistance Dogs Northwest, a co-founder of it, in fact, with her husband. And we're going to talk today about the many ways that the animals that she works with make a huge difference in people's lives. Mo, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to share about our program.
So tell me a little bit about how you started Assistance Dogs Northwest. It was Assistance Dogs, something other than Northwest to begin with, right?
Well, I'm originally from Seattle. I was born and raised in the city and spent a lot of time on Bainbridge growing up. But I moved with my husband to Hawaii over 30 years ago. And at the time, he was working as a mechanical engineer. I was working as a CPA. But we gave up those careers to start training assistance dogs and founded Assistance Dogs of Hawaii in 2000. So we, over the years, started getting more and more requests for dogs from the Seattle area and placing dogs here from Hawaii on a case-by-case basis, mostly with children with disabilities and child advocacy centers. Anyway, one thing led to another, and we have had a puppy raising group in the Northwest for about 15 years. And then we started Assistance Dogs Northwest here on Bainbridge in 2017.
So we have a little video that you have put together, which describes what some of the ways that the dogs have been helpful.
Yeah, so we have three types of dogs that we primarily train, and those are service dogs for children and adults with limited mobility, and full-time hospital dogs, and full-time courthouse dogs that help children who are victims of crime. So this short video shows one of each of those types of dogs in action. Ian has cerebral palsy and autism, and he's just starting first grade this year.
The biggest impact has been the companionship. The comment he made when we brought him home was, "I finally have a best friend."
Nelson is trained to help Ian in so many ways. He can help him with physical tasks like walking, retrieving items, opening doors, turning on and off lights. Nelson also helps Ian socially and is such an icebreaker for him at school and out in public.
With Nelson here, Ian can focus more, and Nelson also notices if Ian's getting anxious, and he'll come over to him, and Ian can then pet him and relax him and just be more calm.
Nelson is so devoted to Ian. It's really a beautiful thing to see how they're working together.
He helps me walk, and he helps me get calm, and he helps me carry my lunchbox.
Our training is very specialized, and each dog is selected particularly for their partner based on their temperament, their energy level, and many other factors. Nelson is the perfect dog for Ian because he's so calm, he's so focused, and he's very easy to handle, and he loves children. We're here in Olympia, Washington at the Thurston County Prosecutor's Office, and we're visiting one of our courthouse dogs named Astro.
We have a facility dog here in Thurston County, specifically at Monarch Children's Justice and Advocacy Center, and that dog is Astro. The children that I deal with are dealing with a family member who has either sexually or physically abused them, and he comes and he will sit with the child as they're in the truth chair, which is what we call the witness stand for a child. They are able to be brave and be strong, and I think Astro really supports that and fosters that.
Astro provides comfort and calm to the children who come to our center. As you can imagine, this is an extremely stressful event. Usually it's abuse, and so when they come here, he provides instant calm and comfort to the children.
Animals help children immensely to calm down, to feel safe, and to have a focus outside of their body. Having a dog like Astro present really helps a child to not be anxious. It decreases their fear of both the interview process and the examination process. And as the children can calm down and decrease their anxiety, then they are much more able to give us the information that we need.
Having Astro be present with my child victims is incredibly invaluable.
We're in Portland, Oregon today visiting Dornbecker Children's Hospital.
Dornbecker is one of the best hospitals for children in the country. And having her on board as one of our staff has been amazing. When I walk into the hospital with her on the leash, the staff, doctors, nurses, they all stop and say, "Hi Hope, can I pet you?" And it takes me about 20 minutes to get to my office. I just kind of stand back and watch her do her work because she is so beloved. She has done some marvelous things for kids who were so upset, and I could come in and it changes the direction of their mood and calms them down, and we're able to talk them through whatever is bothering them or scaring them. We had a child who was brought in who had a very serious head injury. They wanted me to come down because the family likes dogs. We got her on the bed and we laid his hand on her head. He could kind of move his hand a little bit, and the family started to cry because it was the first time he'd really shown any kind of movement since the accident. I won't say that she did it all, but she has an influence on how kids respond and how they can heal. This isn't a dog. This is an angel in a doggy costume.
Oh, that was absolutely wonderful.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
Oh, wow. I mean, hello. What is there not to love about that?
I guess I can see.
When I was in the hospital, I was not a kid at the time. I was only a few years back. And they had a dog come in a couple times when I was there for the 2 week or so plus I was there, and it was the best thing in the world. That's a great big Saint Bernard.
Oh, that's awesome.
I guess we can understand why you aren't a certified public accountant anymore.
Yes, I did that for about 15 years, but this was really something I'd wanted to do since I was a little girl, and to train dogs to help people. So I kind of took a leap of faith and changed careers when I was in my 30s, and have never looked back. It's just been like the best decision ever.
So there are three great examples there of the ways that dogs can really make a difference in people's lives and change outcomes for people who are struggling. And I'm wondering if you might talk a little bit more about the breadth of your program and the way that you marry the work of volunteers with staff, you and any other paid staff you have here in Hawaii.
Sure. And then, Reed, would this be a good time for me to start sharing my screen so I could show the PowerPoint?
Great. Excellent idea.
Okay. As Reed mentioned, my husband is the co-founder of both Assistance Dogs of Hawaii and Assistance Dogs Northwest. And that's just us with a litter of future heroes there. We start their training when they're about 7 weeks old. And well, I'll talk more about the training process coming up here in a minute. But what's really interesting to me is just the potential that dogs have to help people. I feel like there's still so much untapped potential in the way they can assist people with various disabilities or illnesses. And yeah, they're just called man's best friend for a good reason. So I wanted to show you, this is our campus on Bainbridge Island. We're just off of Miller Road. And we have a completely wheelchair accessible campus. We bought the property about 4 years ago and did a big remodel. So we have housing for our clients that's wheelchair accessible. This shows the training barn that I'm sitting in now. It has a big training room, classroom, reception office. And of course, those are some of our students there out front. It's another picture of the campus. So we have, it's really nice because it's 2.5 acres and we have big exercise fields and trails in the forest and big lawns that are nice and accessible for people in wheelchairs. This screen shows some of the dogs that we have placed and where they are. We serve Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. So as you can see right now, most of our graduates are in Washington State. Let's see, and we have different types of dogs that we place, the service dogs, hospital facility dogs, courthouse dogs, and therapy dogs. I actually think I missed a screen. I'm sorry, let me jump back here. Here it is. So this one, a little bit about the history. So we started in 2017. We're a nonprofit organization and member of Assistance Dogs International. All of the services that we provide, including the dogs and lifetime follow-up support, are provided free of charge. The 3 main programs that we have are the Assistance Dog Program, which was highlighted in that video. Those were 3 types of assistance dogs. And then we also have our community outreach program that is focused mostly on Bainbridge Island and the Kitsap County. And then we have our medical scent detection program. And I'm going to talk about those here in just a minute, but that's a kind of a broad overview. So back to here. So service dogs, this was Ian, who you saw in the video. So I'd say over half of our service dogs go to children with limited mobility. Some of them have muscular dystrophy. They might have cerebral palsy, spina bifida, anything that limits their mobility, a service dog can help with. And it's really wonderful to see children like Ian who get partnered with a service dog and how it helps them. Our minimum age is 10. So a lot of these kids might get a dog when they're 10 or 12, and that dog is with them right through middle school, high school, and even going to college. So it really helps not only with tasks and activities of daily living, but as an icebreaker for these kids. And then the courthouse dogs, like you saw in the video, courthouse dog Astro, they help children through the legal process. Everything from the forensic interviews to medical exams, and even when the children testify in court, the dog can be right with them. And it really makes a huge difference. Most often children won't talk about what's happened to them. Often they've been threatened by the perpetrator if they do so, but having the dog gives the child the courage and comfort to find their voice and say what happened to them. And it's really a nice thing. The dog goes in with the child into the courtroom. The child gets to hold the dog's leash, and it gives them a sense of empowerment and control in a situation, get choked up talking about this one, but a situation where they don't have much control. So those are the courthouse dogs. And we have gosh, I think we have 8 working in different counties throughout Washington alone, and several in Oregon right now. And then the hospital facility dogs, like you saw Hope in the video, we specialize in placing dogs at children's hospitals. We just graduated another one from our campus here on Bainbridge last week, and they benefit over 1,000 children per year on average. So that's 10,000 children during their career. And they also benefit the family members, and especially right now during COVID, they make a huge difference for the staff members as well. Does anybody have any questions before I move on to the next section?
Maureen, thank you for this beautiful work. It's very moving. I am a deaf person. I hear with 2 cochlear implants, and I have long wanted a hearing dog for the times when I take my implants off and I'm alone. But it doesn't sound like you're training hearing dogs. Is that correct?
That's correct. So programs like ours that specialize in training dogs usually have certain areas of specialty, like guide dogs for the blind. All they do is train guide dogs, and the hearing schools tend to specialize in that. Our main specialty is training dogs for people who are quadriplegics or paraplegics with very limited mobility, but we do help people, you know, any residents of the area we serve, in applying to other schools. We have partner programs that do specialize in that, and I'd be happy to share some information with you about that and schools that you could apply to.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. Any other questions so far? Okay. Yes.
Hi, Maureen. Thank you so much. I have epilepsy, and I wonder if you have any information about seizure dogs.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much you know about the seizure dogs, but there's 2 main kinds. So there's seizure alert and seizure response. And the seizure alert dogs are the ones that can alert a person ahead of time before they have a seizure. So there's usually happens like 10 or 15 minutes before the onset of the seizure. And we don't know exactly what the dog is identifying, but we think it's a smell, like a chemical change in the body, that they make an association between that and then their person having a seizure and maybe, you know, falling down. So it's just like if you go and grab a leash and your dog gets excited, they know they're going to go for a walk. They associate one thing with another. So they associate this change in the smell with their person, you know, being in distress. So they'll start acting anxious and maybe nudge the person, and that can alert them to lie down and not be injured. The other type is seizure response. And we do a lot for the placements we do with children with limited mobility that also have seizures. And those dogs are trained when they see the beginning of the seizure happening. Like we had one girl, her hand would start flicking like this, and then it would be her arm and her whole body. And as soon as her dog saw her hand start twitching, he would bark to alert her parents, and they could come in and make sure she wasn't injured. So the best place, excuse me, the best place to find out more information about both seizure dogs and dogs for people who are hearing impaired is a website called Assistance Dogs International. And it lists all the accredited programs, and it lists them by state, but also by type of dog. So you could do a search there for seizure dogs or hearing dogs and find out which ones are available for you in this area. Yeah, and it's really, I can't recommend enough, to go through Assistance Dogs International and get a dog from a program that is accredited. A lot of them don't charge anything. like us, for the dog or lifetime follow-up support.
Thank you.
So this makes me think of one of the two things you're going to be talking about coming up, which is the medical support. And I know that you've done some work with COVID-19.
Yes. In fact, that is coming up here in the PowerPoint. So I will keep going through and we can talk about that. I know I have limited time, so I'll try to go fast. But let's see. Oh, what's happening? Sorry. Okay, we did hospital facility dogs. So these are 4 of our puppies in training. Just a little bit about the training process. As I mentioned, they start when they're just about 7 weeks old. The training takes 1.5 to 2 years. They go through 4 different stages of training. And in the last stage, the dogs are specifically trained for their partner. And we really look at each dog's temperament and match them with the kind of work and eventually with a specific person that's a really good match for them. So it's important. We use all positive reinforcement with our training and that the dogs enjoy what they do. One way the dogs learn is by watching the older dogs that we have on campus. So sometimes when we're teaching a puppy something new, this just came up yesterday, and we were teaching a dog to tug open a door, and they were struggling a little bit. We had one of the older dogs show them how to do it, and then they just repeated it just from learning and watching. So those are some of our dogs. And this is inside the barn here where I am, the main training room, where we work with the dogs and our clients. This is a gentleman that lives here on Bainbridge. And then we have team training camp. So when the dogs are matched with somebody, the people come here for a week of training, and then we go to them for a week of training. And these 3 people on the left, that gentleman is the medical director at Dornbecker Children's Hospital. And this is the second dog that they got, Davis. And he works with him at the hospital. And then there's the woman in the middle, had a stroke and has very limited mobility. And she was paired with a service dog named Wesley. And then the woman on the right is a child advocate in Wenatchee. And she's there with her Courthouse dog that she had just received. And the first dog that we trained here at our new campus was for a woman named Jenna, who lives in Winslow. And she has very limited mobility, uses a power wheelchair, and she was partnered with this dog named Ranger. So he learned over 90 different commands and can help her do things like opening doors, turning on lights, picking up things that she drops. But more than anything, he's been a wonderful companion for her. And these 2 you may have seen out around town. People tell me they see them all the time down on Winslow Way. But Mike also uses a power wheelchair and has MS, and that's his service dog, Brittany, that he received from us 2 years ago. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about our community outreach program. It's an important part of what we do, and we really focus our efforts right here on Bainbridge, doing all kinds of programs. This is a visit that we were doing are you familiar with Vitalize Kitsap? It's a
Yes.
Yeah, for adults with different types of special needs. So we take our dogs in training and some of our therapy dogs to visit a lot of different places like Madison House, the Veterans Home in Port Orchard, different schools with kids with special needs. So that's part of the community outreach program. We also have a workplace readiness program. It's for high school students with special needs where they can come and work at our campus and gain valuable job skills. And we really love that. And so far have had 100% success rate with our graduates of this program finding employment after high school. Then we do educational presentations at different schools, elementary schools, high schools, and we teach them about assistance dogs, but also about people with disabilities and being sensitive to that. And then we have a Camp Bow Wow in the summer that is a week-long program for children with disabilities. The last one in our community outreach program is our crisis response program. And this is where we have teams that are trained to go in and help when there are victims of mass casualties or different crises. This began when we were asked to go to Las Vegas by the FBI after the terrible shooting down there. And we had 3 of our teams went and helped with the victims and survivors of that.
Wow.
We also had the opportunity to go and help at the high school this past year. We brought the dogs up there, don't have pictures of the kids that they were with, but we were able to be there for several days helping with the kids after that tragedy.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And then the third part of our program, so we have the assistance dog program, our community outreach program, and then we have our medical scent detection program where we have taught dogs to detect certain diseases. The first study we did was 6 years ago, and it was on teaching dogs to detect bacterial infections at an early stage. And that was published in Oxford journals and mentioned in the New England Journal of Medicine. It was the first study of its kind with dogs detecting bacteria. So when the pandemic started, I really started thinking about dogs detecting COVID, and we partnered with a hospital and to obtain COVID samples that were just like a cotton ball would be wiped on someone's neck. It's called a sweat sample, but it's really more like skin odor. And we would present those samples and teach the dogs to differentiate between people who had the COVID-19 and those who were not infected. And we're just submitting that paper for publication, but the dogs had an extremely high success rate, close to 100% for doing this. This just shows how we collected the samples and presented it to the dogs. These are our super sniffers. So Sadie, who some of you met earlier, she was sitting next to me and was one of the dogs in the study. Tess, the black lab, is amazing. She's the best scent detection dog I've ever seen. And Yuki and Samson. Sadly, Samson did not make it all the way through the training. He did not have the work ethic of his classmates. They have to really be inspired, to do this over and over and over. And he lost interest, was more interested in going and getting pet if we had any spectators. So that is that. Oh, and here's just a short video showing one of the training. In this, it's really quick, but it's just showing Sadie sniffing a lineup of boxes, and the negative or control samples are in the first 4 boxes, and the little piece of cotton from someone with COVID is in the last box. So I'll show you what that looks like when they do find it and alert.
COVID samples in box 5.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so I was using a clicker. When they find the right one, we do a click to let them know it's correct. And then of course she gets a treat. We can all recognize that look on her face. So, and then the last thing, so I did just publish a book that has stories. Each chapter is a different story about a certain dog and how they help their partner. So it's there, but it's this is it, Wonder Dogs. It came out this summer. So yeah, if anybody's interested in learning more about that, it has, I feel like the people I meet and the dogs and the way they like reach their full potential together through these partnerships is so inspiring. So I was really happy to be asked to write this book and share those stories with others. Yep. And so we receive donations to help support our work. We don't charge anything for the dogs or the lifetime follow-up support. And it is, quite expensive to do this, and often, a 12-year commitment. So we get donations from individuals, from foundations, from businesses that make this work possible. So we're really thankful for that. And now is your time. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them.
So I'm curious about the balance of staff and volunteers. You have now 2 campuses, one in Hawaii and one here, and you can't really be 2 places at once. So
no, I tried. It didn't work. Yeah, I wish I could, but we now, my husband and I, as the directors, we split our time between Hawaii and here on Bainbridge about half the year each. And since the program in Hawaii has been up and running for over 20 years, we're very established there and have staff in place, full-time staff members, trainers, office managers that run everything while we're gone. And here on Bainbridge, we also have a training director, and we have interns who live on the campus here and help with the training. So these are people that come from all over the world to learn how to become a trainer and work in this industry. They're usually people who have a degree, like a 4-year degree in a related field, either in maybe medicine or veterinary care, or a lot of psychology background, because that applies so much. And then we also have like some office support staff here. It's been a little tricky because we had our grand opening 2 years ago. Yeah, it was just about exactly 2 years ago of our campus here. And then the pandemic hit a few months later. So we've had to scale back on a few things. And like everybody is just kind of doing the best we can to get through this. So we haven't been able to be as open or have, graduations or big gatherings here. But we are training just as many dogs and sending them out there into the community.
And do you have people who are like in a courtroom setting or a hospital setting sort of sign up to be the main coordinator of the dog in each of those in each of those environments?
Yeah, good question. So those people will apply to our program the same way as someone with a disability would. So we'll get a phone call. In fact, I think we just got one yesterday from another hospital saying they're interested in applying. And then we go through an interview process with them and figure out where the dog would benefit the most patients. And then we interview people who are clinicians at the hospital, or if they're at a courthouse, who work directly with victims, they go through the same 2-week training to learn to be the dog's handler and caretaker. And then they incorporate them into the work they do to benefit the people they serve.
So it sounds like you have support, as you said, from foundation. So that's probably grant writing, which is hard work in addition, and direct donations. And I'm guessing some foundations from maybe some of these organizations that have come to realize the benefit of the program also support.
We've been really thankful to be part of One Call for All, and Bainbridge Community Foundation has been a big supporter of ours from the beginning. So yeah, we're just slowly, getting more awareness out there and yeah, support.
Well, those are the questions I had. I really appreciate you coming to take the time and explain not only what's going on with you, but the services that that other people might benefit from outside of the specific work that Assistance Dogs Northwest does.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.